Greetings, everyone. Teching here, and I have reached a new executive decision that I hope the rest of the world will just go along with, but I think they will once you understand what the nature of the decision is. So I'm looking at the calendar, right, and I have deemed that there are entirely few Halloweens for every year. One Halloween per year. Is that going to cut the mustard? I don't think it will. So therefore, my executive decision is there will now be 2 Halloweens per year. One in the spring, one in the fall. Perfectly balanced as all things should be, right? Hold on a moment. Let me just get rid of that. And there you go. See, my logo's in a pumpkin. It's official now. Halloween in April. All right, so let's talk about Perona, Ghost Girl. Why not, right? Okay. There's a couple of things from last chapter to still go into. We have to talk about the Blackbeard Pirates, Devil Fruits, and things like, we tackled the most important stuff, though. We talked about the Island Fruit, we talked about Garp's Fist, and we talked about the Whip Lady, okay? So now we talk about the Ghost Lady, all right? Because, if you kind of blink and you miss her, but she's in the last chapter. Very, very small little panel there where Koby was just remembering of how he managed to escape the jail cell that he was imprisoned in, inside of Avala Pizarro's left nipple. I guess he's just like, my left nipple is tingling. That's where we kept the prisoners. Oh no, they're escaping. Yes. So we saw Perona there, and she kind of helped out Koby and was like, hey, I'll give you the keys to your cell. In exchange, you have to help me rescue Gecko Moria, who is somewhere else deeper in the prison. Now, we only get that one brief flashback panel with Perona. That's all she's in. Just the panel with her ghosts are around her, giving Koby the keys, saying that, she'll help him out if he helps her, okay? And in the very next panel, we kind of go back to the present where Koby's running around with his iron ball, throughout the island trying to escape the pirates, trying to lead the pirates away from the other prisoners that are trying to escape. And Koby mentions that, I had to ally with a pirate in order to escape, but I guess that's the least of my worries right now. I just need to get out of here, okay? So a couple of questions about this. First of all, this is a minor question, but I brought it up during the review. What exactly were they using to keep Koby imprisoned? I'm just curious by that, because Koby is, wicked strong. I mean, he's buff, okay? And he doesn't have a Devil Fruit ability, so the only way I can imagine is if, maybe they made Sea Prism Stone, cages for everybody, regardless of whether or not they're Devil Fruit users, because Sea Prism was mentioned to be, really durable. So even if you don't have a Devil Fruit ability, even though if you can touch Sea Prism without being weakened, actually bending it or breaking it would be difficult. But other than that, I'm just a little curious by that, okay? Now, the way that Perona was able to get into the island and manage to get into the dungeon and get the key and help Koby and the rest of the prisoners escape, that actually makes way more sense, because Perona's Devil Fruit ability is really broken when you honestly think about it. She is basically able to one-shot anybody pretty much, as long as they don't have, crazy amount power of, hockey or anything like that. Although, one has to wonder, though, sometimes, and we're going to address this later on in the video, because there's something involving Moria and the Kage Kage no Mi that might tie back to Rocks and Garp, so we'll get to that in a moment. But, as Law said when he was facing off against the Blackbeard pirates at Winter Island, he mentions that, if I just exert enough hockey, I can push through the effects of a Devil Fruit power on me. So Doc Q used the Sick Fruit on Law to turn him into a woman, and so he used his hockey to, turn himself back to normal, okay? So we saw that, and we also saw that, with the Yonko and everything like that, Law was not just able to use his room to, separate Big Mom and Kaido. He mentioned it was only going to be, a couple of feet of difference that he could send them because they're just so powerful, right? So you gotta wonder, though, if Perona used her Devil Fruit ability on Kaido, would it have worked? Because something else you gotta look at here is that when, Law was still afflicted by the Devil Fruit, he was still affected by the Sick Fruit, he got affected by it, and then he realized that the effect is from a Devil Fruit, and then he had to physically exert his hockey to break through it, okay? So it's sort of like Devil Fruit abilities can work on everyone, but then after you're affected, you can exert hockey to, negate the effect, essentially, okay? So I guess that's kind of how it works. So in theory, Perona could use her negative hollows throw one at Kaido and be like, "Whoa, I'm a dragon. Oh man, I'm not a dragon. I'm nothing. Oh man, all I do is drink. It's because I'm depressed." Glug, glug, glug. And then maybe Kaido would realize, wait a second, I'm being afflicted by a devil fruit. Hockey! I'm still gonna drink. Glug, glug, glug. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm curious, okay? It would have been funny, but seriously, that's only with really strong opponents, though. When it comes to, like, regular pirate riffraff that are, like, mostly on Hachinosu, like the pirates that, Prince Groose and Kujaku and Hibari were dealing with in the last chapter, the ones that Garp just pretty much nuked with his galaxy impact and everything like that, those pirates would be easily afflicted by the not the hormone fruit, that's Ivankov's, the Horo no Mi, which is Perona's ghost, like her negative hollows, okay? They would definitely be afflicted by that. So it would be really easy, relatively speaking, for Perona to get on the island, and if anybody like sees her or questions her, just like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And just like, whoop, just like, "Oh, I don't even care what she's doing here. I don't know, man. I need the bar." You know what I mean? So just go ahead, and then she could get in the prison, and she could just walk right through, and then she just goes up to the head jailer and just like, "Hey, I need the key." And he just looks at her and just like, "Wait, who are you?" And just, "Oh, I don't even care who you are. I wanted to be a baker. Here I am working at Pirate Island in the prison. You know what? Take the keys. I don't even care. I'm lower than a sea anemone. Even a sea anemone would have better resume than I would." Just like, oh god, dude. I wonder if Perona feels bad about that every once in a while. Like during Thriller Bark, she seemed to get a bit of a jolly out of it. You know what I mean? And just like she afflicts people with the negative hollows, and she's just like, but I wonder if every now and then when she afflicts somebody, like there's somebody in a really bad way, like somebody that was already kind of depressed and like, down on their luck and just sad about everything, and then they get afflicted with that, and it goes even darker than even Perona. It was just like, oh my god, oh dear. No, it's okay, buddy. It's okay. It's okay. It's all right. It's just like, I wonder. It's a very, very difficult ability to have when you really think about it. So anyway, and getting into the prison, not a problem. She gives the keys to Koby. Now, did Koby already help Moria escape? Or is Moria still in prison? Because they're no longer in the prison anymore. Koby got to the surface of the island with all the other prisoners that he freed. There was a member of the Snake Neck tribe. There was also a mink that was imprisoned there on Hachinosu. And so he mentioned that I had to ally with a pirate. So the implication is you allied with Perona. Like Perona gave you an offer and he's like, "Hey, you help me. I'll help you if you help me." And so the implication is, I guess, Koby, like the transaction is complete. Perona helped him escape, Koby helped Moria escape, and now Koby's feeling a little, conflicted by that because he's a Marine and he's like, I had to ally with a pirate in order to escape. So I'm a little conflicted by that, but whatever, I didn't really have a lot of options here, okay? So I don't know. The idea, I guess, is that at the very least, Koby helped free Moria. At least Koby helped Perona reach the lower prison where Moria was being kept, and then he left after that. It might have been a simple thing. Maybe the prison cell that Moria was kept in was like maybe more sturdy, okay? And once again, if it was like sturdy, I would say Koby could just use his his strength to just bust the door wide open. Maybe, okay, oh, wait a second. I'm trying to think about this. Okay. All right. What if it's like the prison cell that Moria was in, because he is confirmed to be a devil fruit user? The Blackbeard pirates know this. His prison cell was way more decked out with the sea stone, okay? It was basically maybe just an iron box of sea stone, just like a metal box on all sides with sea stone lined with the whole thing. So Moria, because Moria's ability is tricky. The Kage Kage no Mi could do a lot of weird shit, all right? He can manipulate his own shadow, he can make the brick bats, so, even if there's a small opening in the cell, it wouldn't be impossible for Moria to make like a brick bat and have it fly through and escape and do something, okay? So what if the Blackbeard pirates like chained Moria up completely with sea stone and then locked him into like a perfectly sealed box where he couldn't get out? Ironic, because one of his abilities is actually black box, and he traps somebody in the black box and beats the crap out of them, right? So what if Perona, she could basically manipulate people, but what if she gets down? What if Blackbeard's the only one that has the key to his cell? You know, that's not like she can just find on the jailers or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like Blackbeard keeps that key on him at all times, or at least in the hands of one of the 10 Titanic captains, and Perona is... You know, she's aware enough that she's like, I cannot take on, you know, the 10 Titanic captains. I can't take on Blackbeard, okay? Koby, I need you to help me get to the lower prison and rescue Moria, okay? And I need you to do it because I'm a devil fruit user. I can't touch Sea Prism or I'll get weakened, but you can, okay? So what if it's kind of like that? They work together. Now, here's the question for you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to throw this out there because when you throw the Kage Kage no Mi into the inner workings of what's going on right now in the One Piece plot, you get a lot of really interesting options on the table, okay? So... I'm 100% sure that Moria's body was imprisoned at Hachinosu. Now, whether or not his body was living, whether or not his body had a heartbeat or not, that's the question. I'll even add a little bit more of a qualifier here, okay? Moria's body is definitely imprisoned in Hachinosu, and his body can definitely move. I think those are two things we know for certain, okay? But that doesn't confirm whether or not he's alive or not. It just means his body is there, and it's definitely moving. But, you know what? Why is it moving? Is it moving because he is alive, or is he moving because he got, you know, Blackbeard killed him, stole the Kage Kage no Mi, has that power himself, or gave the power to somebody else, uses that ability. Although all the 10 Titanic Captains' Devil Fruit's ability are now accounted for. The only Blackbeard 10 Titanic Captain we do not know that has a Devil Fruit ability is Lafitte. And Lafitte does have a Devil Fruit, but we don't know the name of it, but it allows him to turn into a bird. He couldn't get the Kage Kage no Mi. I guess you could still throw out that we still technically don't know who the 10th Titanic Captain is, but it's Kuzan. It's definitely Kuzan. But he could have given that ability to somebody else on the crew. I'm sure it's not all just like the 10 Titanic Captains, Blackbeard, and then a bunch of riffraff. I'm sure there's a few other high-ranking members of Blackbeard's crew that are not quite 10 Titanic Captain level, but are still, like, strong enough to warrant Devil Fruit abilities. I'm sure we'll probably meet a few of them like that, okay? So he could have killed Moria, taken the Devil Fruit, and then uses that power to put a shadow inside of Moria to move the body around, right? Okay, but let's not talk about Moria being dead immediately. But let's at least talk about... Well, wait a second. Hold on a moment. Let me think about this. In order for Blackbeard to steal the Devil Fruit, has it ever actually been confirmed that he has to kill the person? I would say yes, because it happened with Whitebeard and it happened with Absalom. Because we still don't know the mechanism of how Blackbeard is doing this. We don't know how he steals the fruit. But it definitely seems that the death of the former user has to happen. It's because I'm thinking about it like, is this like some all-for-one kind of situation, like from My Hero Academia, where Blackbeard can just like grab Moria and just like absorb the Kage Kage no Mi, leaving Moria alive? It's like, Zah! I have the Shadow Fruit now, you know? Throw this pathetic lump of onion human inside of the dungeons. I don't need him anymore. You know what I mean? I don't think that's the case. We still don't know exactly how it works, but... And also, there was the time at Dressrosa when Burgess went to go attack Sabo, he went to attack Luffy, and he was using the daggers, so it was like the implication was, no, you have to maybe kill the Devil Fruit user to get the ability. That seems to be the indication. Anyway... So, the Kage Kage no Mi, though, in the hands of Blackbeard would be extremely dangerous. And there's a comment, because I made a video last week about Garp and everything, and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to put all the pieces together here. I'm like, okay, Garp is, you know, there on Hachinosu. I don't want him to die, but also something involving rocks might happen. You know, I'm trying to connect the dots here. And somebody left a comment that I loved, and I pinned it. And the comment was... What if they get the Kage Kage no Mi and they use that ability to take Garp's shadow and put it in Rox's corpse? And I was like, oh my god, that idea is amazing. That kind of ties back to the whole, like, okay, well, would that even work, though? Because Garp has hockey out the wazoo. All right, so... Would that even work? Like, let's say Moria's not even dead. Let's say he's still alive. He still has the Kage Kage no Mi, but Blackbeard is maybe torturing him so he'll work for him, okay? Now, Moria is a lot more... he has a lot more dignity than a lot of people would assume. I know a lot of people shit on Moria. I've even shit on Moria in the past. But no, he does have some dignity, okay? He's just like, I'm not going to bend over backwards and just obey whoever, slaps me around a bit. You know what I mean? Just like, but you got to imagine Moria being tortured for several weeks, at Hachinosu. He might have a breaking point, you know what I mean? So at some point, though, if they decide, if Moria decides, I'm going to work for Blackbeard, fine, I don't want to die, so I got to do this. Even if it's like, okay, fine, I'll listen to you, Blackbeard, I'll do whatever you want me to do, but really he's just formulating a plan to try to stab Teach in the back whenever he can manage. That might be the situation as well. But seriously, though, like, would it work if Moria could steal Garp's shadow, add it to his collection, and then throw it in Rox's corpse, reanimating Rox? Like, if they have that, which I'd say them having Rox's corpse is likely, because this is Rox's former island. It was formerly ruled over by Wang Ji. So who knows? Maybe after the events of God Valley, after Garp and Roger, if they really did just straight up kill Rox, maybe Wang was still loyal, and he took Rox's body, and he got him out of there, and he brought it back to Hachinosu, and it's there somewhere, like in the crypt or something. And then they take Garp's shadow and throw it into Rox. Now that would be, I would actually be okay with that over Garp just straight up dying, because in that situation, it's like, okay, Garp is still alive, using an ability that we've already explored in the story before, the Kage Kage no Mi, and the fact that Garp said, if Rox ever were to come back, we're going to have a serious problem on our hands here. And then we just saw Garp galaxy impacting a town. So it's like, holy crap, Garp's shadow inside of Rox? That would be like just that alone, that sentence alone, Garp's shadow in Rox's body would be devastatingly powerful, okay? And it doesn't mean Garp has to die. In fact, he couldn't die, because if he were to die, then the shadow would disappear, because the shadows are connected to the physical body. Even if they're separated, if one of them dies, they both go away. That's how it works, okay? So that would actually, I would be okay with that. I really would be. Now, the question remarks here is like, people commenting on that theory, and it's just like, well, would it even work? Because Garp can just exert hockey and stuff. So you have to wonder, like, if that hockey trick works with literally every Devil Fruit ability, no matter what it is. Like, in theory, back at Thriller Bark, Luffy, Sanji, Zoro, and even Robin all had their shadows stolen by Moria. Now, they knew a little bit, like, rudimentary hockey at that point. Like, Zoro knew a little bit about observation at that point. Actually, it was right after Thriller Bark that Luffy first exhibited the traits of Conqueror's hockey when they were at Duval's base. And, Duval had the giant Motoboro, like the giant, like, it wasn't it was like a boar, right? It was like a boar, like a bull or something. And, Luffy just kind of, like, petted it and just, like, stop. And then it was just like, ooh. So that was, I think, the first indication that Luffy had Conquerors. And that was immediately after Thriller Bark. So I wonder, like, if Moria were to steal Luffy's shadow, and he has the shadow, and he's master of the shadows. That's literally the ability of the Kage Kage no Mi. No matter how strong the shadow is, even the shadow of Luffy and Zoro, he can control. That's the whole point of the fruit. So if Luffy's shadow is stolen and he just, like, Conqueror's hockey, boom, would the shadow just fly back to Luffy? Is that how it would work? I don't know, because you're, like, taking something away from him. Like, the sick fruit altering Law's body and then him, negating that effect by using hockey, that makes sense. Even somebody being afflicted by the negative hollows, and we're going to get back to Perona, because I know now we're moving over to Moria, but, getting that, the negative effect from the ghosts, and then exerting hockey to nullify that effect, that makes sense too. But having your shadow physically ripped away and removed from you and controlled by the master of shadows, what's exerting hockey going to do? Is it just going to make the shadow fly back? The only way I could see maybe you could nullify that effect is if, like, when Moria goes to physically steal your shadow, you realize what he's trying to do, and then you kind of exert it. But maybe if he actually manages to catch you by surprise, or if you're distracted, or if you're knocked out and then it's taken, there might not be anything you can do about that. But that's still a lot of, like, we don't know. There's a lot of variables up into play there, okay? So moving back to Perona a little bit here, okay? It's interesting, actually. Perona's, like, little quest that she has going on here. There's a lot of moving parts in One Piece right now, and Perona is just kind of like on a side quest adventure, you know what I mean? Like, Straw Hats are at Egghead dealing with this oncoming marine armada, the Seraphim are there, there's traitors and a mystery arc and everything, Vegapunk's revealing secrets about devil fruits, Law's clashing with Blackbeard, Shanks is just decimating Kid's crew, and then, you know, everything, and then we just have Perona that's like, I'm gonna find Moria, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you could make a video game after that, you know, the Ghost Girl's quest to rescue her father figure, which that basically is who Moria is to Perona. That's something very important to mention that Oda clarified in an SBS, okay? And also the reason why Perona is so dedicated, so determined to rescue Moria. Moria is not just like Perona's captain or like somebody she respects. No, Moria basically raised Perona, okay? So, you know, he's a creepy onion human, but Perona looks up to him as, like, her father, okay? So he's like, I'm gonna rescue him. And we saw that back when she was hanging out with Mihawk at Gloomy Island. You know, Mihawk's reading the newspaper, and then Perona sees it, and she starts crying, because she's like, oh my god, I thought my dad was dead for 2 years, but this confirms he's still alive. Even if it means going into the pirate island, which, by the way, Perona, man, she's kind of a girl boss here, right? I mean, you had all those Marines like Prince Groose and everybody back at G14 that were like, we can't go to Hachinosu, we can't risk it. You know, even with the sword members, that'd be like putting our face in a beehive. It's not good. It's not going to end well. And then Garp shows up and it's like, all right, now we can go, right? But Perona's like, no, screw that. I'm going to infiltrate the pirate island by myself. Because she didn't know, like, she was going to have Koby there to help her, or the other sword members were going to cause chaos in the background. She didn't know any of that. She's like, screw this. I am going to go rescue my dad, and I'm going to do it myself, and I don't care. I don't need anybody to help me. All I need is myself and my ghosts, and that's all I need. And, you know, Perona managed to infiltrate the island and get all the way down into the dungeons, all right? Girl boss Perona, 100%, right? Okay? By the way, I love that scene when they were at Gloomy Island, and, you know, Mihawk's just like, if you want to leave, leave. And Perona's like, you're so mean. How dare you do that? I helped you out here. I was cooking food, and I was so nice to you. And she's, like, packing her things and, like, combing her hair, and just like, I'm leaving. Bye, you jerk. And then Mihawk's like, be careful out there. And then Perona's like, how dare you say something so nice to me? So, you know, I like the Perona Mihawk thing. I ship it. You know, why not, right? It's like she has to go rescue her dad, so then she is like, oh, Moria, it's so great to see you again. So anyway, I met a guy. Just like, Kishi, who is it? I'll kill him. It's Dracula Mihawk. Kishi. Okay. No, Moria still needs to be alive so that conversation can happen. Okay, even if they're not dating, I still feel Perona has some feelings for Mihawk. Maybe Mihawk probably doesn't, but whatever. Okay, I just want to see the conversation completely in canon about, you know, Moria and Perona being reunited and Moria being like, Kishishi, I'm so happy you're still alive, Perona. Where were you these last 2 years? Oh, don't worry, I was staying at somebody's castle. It was fine. Whose castle? Dracula Mihawks. I want to see that conversation. It'd be great. So, where's Perona at right now, though? Okay, what's she up to? Okay, so, assuming that, like, it might have been something as simple as just, like, Koby's like, okay, thanks for helping me out of the cage. Fine, I'll go help Moria. Because he's on the surface. It doesn't make any sense for Koby to, like, other than him just ditching Perona, other than him just being like, yeah, sure, let me out of the cage, let us all out, and I'll help you rescue Moria. And Perona's like, okay, cool. See ya, and then Koby just leaves, and Soru and just runs away, and Perona's like, oh, come on! Koby's not gonna do that, alright? So, the fact that Koby is on the surface of the island in the last chapter, running around with the iron ball, trying to escape, it seems to indicate he already, you know, saved Moria, or at least led Perona down. So maybe he needed, you know, Perona needed Koby to bust through some walls or something, so then Koby does that, and he's like, boom, okay, are you good? He's like, yeah, he should be down there. I'm like, okay, I gotta get going, I gotta rescue rescue all these other prisoners. I gotta find the Marines. I gotta escape out of this island. Are you gonna be okay? And Perona's like, yeah, I'll be fine. Don't worry. I'm a ghost. It's like, oh yeah, right. She's a ghost too. She could have totally, like, not even doing the whole negative hollow thing, although she still could have done that. Seriously, Perona's physical body might not even be on the island right now. Although didn't she give the keys to Koby to help him escape? So I guess it has to be. But in theory, can't she? I mean, she could have improved with her devil fruit a little bit. And also, can't her ghosts pick things up? You know, so I'm just thinking, like, Perona could be on a ship right now. Like, she could have docked her ship, like, a couple of, 100 feet, a couple 100 meters off the coast of Hachinosu. Or she could have circled around to the back of the island where there's, like, nobody at, like, in the, like, the rocky coast or whatever. And Perona's like, okay, this should be a good spot. And then she just, astral projects herself as a ghost. And she can summon other ghosts while she is a ghost. And she can manipulate her size and do everything like that. The stuff we saw with Usopp, right? So she could have turned into a ghost and then went into the dungeon, and if she can move things while she's a ghost, maybe she could still afflict, the negative hollows on people. She could blow things up with her ghost. I mean, maybe her ghost can pick something up and just give it to Koby, and then she's like, okay, but she can't phase through Sea Prism because she's a ghost. That's maybe still a devil fruit ability, so she can't phase through Sea Stone. So maybe it's like, Koby, I need you to, like, help me bust through this wall or do something with it. I don't know. And I'll knock it off his hinges because Koby wouldn't be able to break through a Sea Prism wall, but if it's like hinges or something, I don't know. I'm trying to think of options here. Anyway, and then they find Moria, and then basically Koby leaves. So it's not like, Koby sticks around long enough for Perona to rescue Moria, and then they both get to the surface, because they weren't running around. Like, it wasn't like Koby, Perona, and Moria were running around with the prisoners in the last chapter, okay? So that's something else they're doing. They might have escaped the island already, like, provided Koby held up his end of the deal, provided that he rescued Moria, got the chains off of him and everything. Moria and Perona could have went some other direction. It's like, you guys have fun trying to escape. I have a boat, but it can only fit me and Moria. I'm out of here. And then they leave. Oh, by the way, on that note, a little bit of a tangent, and I actually forgot to include this in the video, so I'm filming this at the very end, but I want to get your opinion on something here, because I've always been a little confused by this, okay? So, Thriller Bark. And when I say Thriller Bark, I mean the island Thriller Bark. That's also a ship that was the setting for the Thriller Bark arc, okay? So we see an island or an island ship that looks very similar to Thriller Bark parked outside of Hachinosu. This was during Wano when Moria first arrived with his zombie army looking for Absalom, okay? So we see it right there. Now, I always assumed that was not the actual Thriller Bark island. That was a replica. That was a scaled down, smaller version of it, because we see Thriller Bark abandoned during one of the cover pages. It was from the Decks of the World, right after the time skip where we see what's going on with the rest of the world. We see one focusing on Perona. It says that Perona is wandering the abandoned Thriller Bark and she found Kumashi, okay? So the implication is Thriller Bark is still floating out there somewhere in the Florian Triangle, just abandoned. Perona went there after she dropped Zoro off at Sabaody to reunite with the Straw Hats. She stopped by Thriller Bark really quick, found Kumashi, and then returned to Gloom Island. Even though we never see Kumashi again after that, I guess she might have, reformatted it or changed it into something else, because it was like this big corpse that was no longer, animated or anything. So it's a little interesting. I always thought that was the ship right here at Hachinosu was not actually Thriller Bark. But some people have actually questioned, like, well, what if it is? Because look at it. It looks exactly like Thriller Bark. It has the exact same structure, the exact same layout. You even see an island, like, in the center of it, and it's a bark. It has 3 masts, and it's just like, is that Thriller Bark? Because, like, it's possible, but the timing of this would have to be like, so Moria is almost killed by Doflamingo and the Pacifistas at the end of Marineford. Absalom shows up, uses his invisibility fruit to save him. They go off, maybe with Hogback. Hogback maybe stitches Moria up after the events of Thriller Bark, right? After the events of Marineford, I mean. They have to be somewhere else in the world. They can't go back to Thriller Bark because it was said that Thriller Bark was abandoned. So they go off somewhere else for 2 years where Moria can heal and everything like that. They think of their new plans. Absalom's going out there as a journalist and everything. Perona's at Gloomy Island the entire time. So then time skip happens. Perona goes back to Thriller Bark, finds Kumashi. Then she leaves because there's nothing else there. And then Moria has to immediately then find Thriller Bark at the Florian Triangle, then I guess summons an army of zombies to control the ship because it's huge. You can't steer that thing by yourself. You need a lot of people to work that ship. So then he pilots the entirety of Thriller Bark under the red line through Fishman Island, gets it coated, rises to the surface, and then goes to Hachinosu? That always bugged the crap out of me. So I don't think this is actually Thriller Bark. I think this is just a replica. Maybe instead of using a big island like the actual Thriller Bark, this is just like a smaller islet or something like that. You know, maybe it's not even an island at all. Maybe they just planted some trees there on the ship to make it look like an island. Because yeah, the actual Thriller Bark, I also feel like if this is to scale, Hachinosu is massive, and I don't think Hachinosu is that big really. Because Thriller Bark is ginormous. Okay, but I don't know. Just let me know what you think about that. What's your opinion on that? Also, maybe they could have picked up Absalom's body on the way out, because Absalom, it was mentioned by Katerina Devon, his physical body is still there, his corpse is still there, so they could, like, get, you know, Absalom's corpse, and then it's, like, really sad, and Perona and Moria are looking at Absalom, and then Moria's like, I will use a shadow to resurrect him, but it won't be the same, you know what I mean? There you go, done. And then, yeah, if Absalom truly is just straight up dead at this point, which I assume he would be, because his devil fruit is now in the hands of Shiryu. There's also Hogback, which we have no idea where Hogback's at right now, although I feel like Hogback was the scientist that Vegapunk mentioned when he was discussing the whole thing about the soul Takuma, like the whole 21 grams of data, you know, experiment and everything in the West Blue, which is a thing that existed in our real world. You know, some scientist back in the early 20th century was trying to weigh the soul, and that was just like pseudoscience. It didn't really yield any results. But in the One Piece world, it's probably accurate. It's probably actual science that, yes, the soul exists, you know, Brooks' proof of that, and it does weigh a certain amount. I can see Hogback being the one that pulled those experiments. Now, this was like years ago, but if Vegapunk was alluding to Hogback, maybe that's Oda indicating that, like, yeah, Hogback is going to come back at some point. He is going to have a role to play here, maybe with Vegapunk, maybe something like that. I don't know. So anyway, yeah, that's what's up with Perona right now. Going on with her. Perona's Quest. You know, play it, the new video game for Nintendo Switch. Play as Ghost Girl Perona. Actually, you know what? Perona's abilities would be pretty useful for, like, as a main character in a video game. You know, like, you could make her astral project and go around, and you could, like, pilot her ghosts as, like, if you don't want to, like, get attacked, you can, like, hide your physical body and then send the ghosts out as, like, drones to, like, scout and everything. This is possible for a video game release. Perona, you got options, okay? Anyway, yeah, if you just get written out of the One Piece story, you could just make a whole line of video games, like tactical adventure games. Kind of maybe something like Metal Gear a little bit. Metal Gear Perona, like a stealth game, but with ghosts. You can make it work, right? Oh, there's a guard over there. I'll just make him horribly depressed, and then I'll sneak by. Yeah, you can make that work. You can make that work. All right. Well, anyway, that's the video. The turtle facts today are non-existent because I didn't write anything down. I'm sorry. But next time. All right. Also, I wanted to thank everybody that voted. I'm going to be doing a big Warlord video coming up, and I needed to pick at least one Warlord, just one Warlord for the thumbnail. And I did this big tournament on my Twitter, and Mihawk was the one that won. I kind of assumed that, although Boa was also kind of like, it's either going to be Boa or Mihawk. That was what I was expecting. And Buggy ranked a lot higher than I thought. He made it to the finals, of course. But Mihawk won, so look forward to that in the future. Thanks to everybody that voted. This will be Techie 101 signing out later, everybody. Happy second Halloween. I guess it's first Halloween in the spring, second Halloween in October. There we go.